What it do, flight crew? FTC. Flight team stand up! It's July. What a time to be alive. We got some educational ish. Special clean educational ish. Some of y'all on summer school. It's okay. I had it too. You know what I'm saying? But that being said, education just don't stop, man. You gotta make sure you stay learned and educated, man. Because I don't know what these teachers are teaching you. Alright? What happens if you don't blink for 30 days? Now, it is physically impossible, in my opinion, for you just not to blink after about 5 or 10 minutes, bro. If you can't, you have an instant Hall of Fame hazard to the nation badge. At lowest minimal menace to society. There's no way anybody can go over 5 to 10 minutes. So, if it's possible somebody went without blinking for 30 days, I'm actually, genuinely scared. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to check it out, as usual, man. It's summer school, so it's more chill, but you still got to get your credit to make up for the failures. All right? So hide your iPhones, your iPads, your LimeWires, your wagers, your pagers. You know what I'm saying? If an administrator walks through. Because I'm not the one that gets dinged for it. It's you. Check it out.
Charles Manson. The infamous, diabolical master manipulator and maniac responsible for instigating the murders of 7 people was known particularly for his demonic stare and for almost never blinking during a conversation.
No fucking way.
This blinkless stare chilled his interlocutors. Thankfully, this irredeemable reprobate finally passed away last year. But what if, in some cosmic quirk of fate, you somehow end up in the world's ultimate end-all be-all staring contest with this psychopath? And determined starer that you are, and dead set on winning this contest of wills against this evil bastard, let's say you don't close your eyes for 30 days. What would this lead to? Might you become a bloodthirsty criminal like Mr. Manson? Could you lose your mind? At the very least, won't you cause some kind of irreversible trauma to your eyes? As previously mentioned, Mr. Manson has departed this earthly coil and is likely burning in some nether hell somewhere, so we can't ask for his unblinking stare advice.
I never even knew who this guy was.
Before we condemn our eyeballs to such a torment, let's see why blinking occurs in the first place. Our eyelids close quite often, approximately
how many times am I blinking this video? Calm it down.
15 to 20 times a minute. This is an amazing, roughly 28,800 times a day.
28,000 times I blink a day, bro? How do you notice?
Our eyes. And
bro, imagine a person that's literally sat there and counted the amount of times somebody blinked, bro. You better have paid them a gazillion dollars up front, bro. That is...
Protect them from foreign invaders, be it a speck of dust, a finger of a passerby poking you in the pupil, or a bright light emanating from the sun or a high-watt flashlight. But according to scientists, to perform its protective functions, the eye shouldn't have to blink so often. So then, just why the heck do our eyes blink so much? First, let's talk about another activity the eye engages in, something you probably never even thought about before. It's important for us to have clear vision, a sharp eye in order to gather information about the world around us. At the core of our ability to see lies something called saccades. This is not an actual physical thing, but rather an action. It's the tiny, swift, synchronous, almost never-ending movement of our eyes between fixed points.
Wow.
This helps our brain build up a 3D image of the world around us. But why, you might ask, don't we visually notice this constant movement? Why do we see a smooth image instead of a series of jumps when scanning something? Why don't we see the in-between spaces? And why is our vision blurred when moving from one place to the next? We'll answer this all in a moment.
Nice.
Blinking is another eye action that most people never even give a passing thought to. When we blink, even though we're momentarily cutting off our view of the world, the light does not appear to diminish. It doesn't even seem to flicker. And the overall image doesn't change in terms of brightness or sharpness. Why does everything appear to remain exactly the same as it was before we momentarily closed our eyes? The answer in both situations is because a critical part of our brain turns off when we blink or when our eyes move during saccades. This hides the darkness of a blink or movement of a saccade from our visual system. By the way, saccades and blinking are very fast. Did I say fast? I mean really fast. Saccades are in fact the fastest movements performed by the human body, though blinks achieve a higher peak speed. When blinking, the eye closes for just 0.3 of a second. Even the fastest Bugatti in the world would envy such speed. Anyway, if the eye moves at such a speed, you might think we wouldn't be able to clearly perceive the world around us. As an example, try to view your hand while shaking it in front of you. It will look blurry, but we don't notice this when our eyes move. As I mentioned before, this is where your brain comes into play. When the eye moves and the saccade occurs, our brain turns off our sight for a micro moment. And when the saccade finishes and the eye comes to a stop, we begin to see again, as if nothing had ever happened. We literally go blind over and over and over again, all day, every day, thousands and thousands of times.
That's wild.
A similar thing happens when we blink, but no one remembers these moments. Let's call it sleight of mind.
Sleight of
Our
mind.
brain hides these movements or blinks from us, smoothing together the before and after images as if nothing had ever happened. Simply put, our brains deceive us, but for our own good. At the Berkeley campus of the University of California, researchers did a really cool experiment when investigating this refocusing or reframing that the brain does. Test subjects were placed into a dark room, and a white dot was projected onto the wall in front of them. Then, precisely at the moment of a blink, when the participants' eyes were closed, the white dot was shifted ever so slightly to the side. After their blink finished, the group of subjects automatically moved their focus to the new location. The researchers continued to move the white point for a total of 35 blinks. Surprisingly, none of the participants ever noticed any changes in the dot's position, even after the 35th time. Researcher Baptiste Caziot explained this by stating that we have a system in our head specially evolved to convince us that no displacement during a blink has occurred. And most of the time this is true, but not always, as the experiment showed. You can check this yourself right now by performing the following experiment.
Really?
Start a stopwatch and remember the number of seconds. Then look away and quickly back again at the watch. You'll see that the number of seconds has remained the same. Congratulations, you've witnessed the work of your subjective visual system.
I think I did that with
your
the cameras
brain
off.
Is a magician, but it only manages to pull off these tricks because saccades and blinking are only unconscious or semi-conscious processes. So, what if we stretch ourselves and try to put our blinking under conscious control? There are several people in the world for whom not blinking for a mere 30 seconds is the easiest thing ever. The first ever record holder is an Australian named Fergal Fleming, who was later nicknamed the Eyesore. He lasted an astounding 40 minutes and 59 seconds without blinking. But in 2015, a sailor in the Chinese Navy managed to stand with his eyes open for 57 minutes and 24 seconds. That is, according to the South China Morning Post. At first, due to an eye infection, the Chinese mariner could not even stand 40 seconds with his eyelids open. However, he trained hard, day and night, for a month straight. He stood in the wind on deck or looked into the bright sky, all without blinking.
Interesting.
And now this guy isn't just a regular sailor, but the king of the peepers, the staring champion of the world. So what's the trick? Apparently there exists not just a physical reason, but also a psychological reason for blinking. Japanese scientists have put forward a fairly strong hypothesis. Subconsciously, we begin to blink when we need a mental rest. So for a short time, our entire visual stimulus system is turned off, allowing us to take a micro breather. To further investigate this theory, a group of 10 people were examined in an MRI machine. Oddly enough, during the test, they watched the fantastic and lovable Mr. Bean. The final analysis showed that when the viewers blinked, their mental activity increased for a short time in areas related to the brain's passive, non-active mode. For a split second, we seemed to be transported to our own personal secluded island, a place where we can reboot ourselves a tiny bit, allowing us to deal with the impending ocean of incoming fresh visual stimuli with renewed vigor. Some of us need this kind of mini rest a little more and some of us a little less. That's why some of us blink more or less frequently than others. 15 years ago, it seemed as if everybody and their brother was trying to unveil the secret of a single pair of eyes. In 2004, there was a rumor in the USA regarding a man who supposedly almost never blinked his eyes. This speculation
I remember that cover from a Fabulous
U.S. Army general named Wesley Clark. He was that year participating in the primary race for the U.S. Democratic Party presidential nomination, and so he was on TV a lot. Real discussion broke out around his candidacy, the reason of which was the burning question: why doesn't this guy blink? According to rough calculations, Clark blinks only between 2 to 4 times a minute, or about once every 15 to 30 seconds. And let me remind you that the average person blinks every 2 to 3 seconds, so this was really strange. In fact, the difference is rather astonishing. Behavioral analyst Lillian Glass shared her observation that people who rarely blink and have a cold, steady stare are often liars. Or at least what? 2 to 3 seconds. So this was really strange. In fact, the difference is rather astonishing. Behavioral analyst Lillian Glass shared her observation that people who rarely blink and have a cold, steady stare are often liars. Or at least this is a technique that practiced liars use. But does General Clark always lie? This is by no means the truth. Just because liars stare doesn't mean all starers lie. The director of the US-based Center for Nonverbal Studies, who is also an anthropologist, one David Givens, managed to finally solve the mystery of Wesley Clark's nearly unblinking eyes. The fact is, he says General Clark's autonomic nervous system operates at a lower level or frequency than that of most other people. In contrast to the record holders, Clark's rare blinking is more a congenital feature rather than an acquired skill. Nevertheless, both cases confirm the ability of a human being not necessarily having to blink for quite a long time. But could we manage a whole 30 days without blinking? There's a disease called lagophthalmos, where a person is not able to close their eyes completely, or in the worst cases, at all. The facial nerves in sufferers of this ailment don't work as well as in others, and therefore they are not able to convey the correct signals from the brain that normally command the eyelids to close.
That's crazy.
They could actually accomplish this task. But what about a completely conscious and voluntary decision to keep one's eyes open? At first, it might seem to you that this is quite doable, and that you would only suffer some kind of minor fatigue. But if you try, then you will see the strain will increase in strength, growing ever greater as time goes by.
I don't know how you do that. It's looking creepy. Stop zooming in, please.
The necessity to close your eyelids will increase to an unbearable level. Your eyes will start to burn, and then suddenly fill with tears over and over again. Soon, the entire struggle of just not blinking will become an intolerable and unendurable nightmare. If you try to continue this for a month, your corneas would dry up. The lens would become dim, losing all focus and sharpness. Your eyesight would...
That's what I thought, bro. Like, your stuff's gonna get dried. Like...
Durable nightmare. If you try to continue this for a month,
you wouldn't even be able to go for a month.
Up. The lens will become dim, losing all focus and sharpness. Your eyesight would begin to fade like a wilting flower under the hot desert sun.
Whoa.
The gray veil of cataracts would envelop your eyes, after which would come an irreversible blindness. I think after hearing this, you're probably going to blink more often.
How many times I blinked this video?
And that's the smart, safe thing to do. Because if you go blind, you can't watch Riddle.
That's fast.
If you like the video, quick, give it a
Hey man, that's
thumbs
just man.
up.
Coming up with this rest. No, 40 minutes.